Hello everybody and welcome to my playlist Sewing Made Easy. In my last videos I showed you how to do a complete Sakko or jacket, starting with the pattern all the way to finishing sewing the jacket. But I also do know that not everybody wants to do a complete jacket. So for those of you who do not want to look through the whole videos of doing the jacket, but you maybe only want to learn how to do a welt pocket into the chest area, that's why I made this video now extra for you here, to be able to learn how to do a nice welt pocket for whichever part you would like to put it into. The parts you need to do a welt pocket is of course the front from the coat, the left side, that's where you usually put it in. You need to cut a welt piece as an example as you see it here. As my finished size is supposed to be 2.5 centimeters high and 11 centimeters long, I cut it 13 by 7 and I also ironed an interfacing on. And of course you need to have a lining ready for it, which will make the pocket later. The welt piece you can cut straight and right angles on the sides, but usually it's done slightly sideways as you can see here. And then you take this piece and stitch 1 centimeter on each side closed up as I'm showing it here. Then, if necessary, if the material is very thick, cut off some corners, turn the piece around to the right side, and just stitch along the bottom of the welt so it's held firmly together. Then go to the ironing board and iron the piece flat for you. Now take the left side from your front from the coat, and hopefully you marked already exactly the position where you like to stitch this pocket on. Put it on your marked points in the exact way as it will be finished off later on, and then turn it over downwards and put it underneath your marks. Now I suggest you take a piece of cardboard where you make a pattern out of, exactly in the width as the welt is supposed to be finished when you finished with the jacket or with a pocket, and put it exactly on top of your welt on the finished edge and stitch exactly along your pattern on the part of your finished welt. And now it's very, very important that your first stitches on the machine here that you're doing from the welt and the last ones when you get to the end are really starting and ending with the actual welt, and that those stitches are very firmly held by a stitching back and forwards, because if they open up later on, then you do have a problem when you're working on the pocket. Now turn the front ones around like I just did, and take your lining part and push it slightly under this welt seam that you have there, which is about 1 centimeter now, because I want a quite small seam between those two seams that I will have now, which means between my two seams I do not want more than maybe 10-12 millimeters in between them. And usually on all the pockets, you know, you got to work in a right angle on every side. But if I would do that right there where you see my finger now, my left finger, then if I cut the pocket open, I would have a hole there. That's why now when I stitch it on, I'm not starting in a right angle. I'm starting slightly farther inwards towards the pocket. Also a very good back and forward stitching is necessary. And you can see I still push my lining underneath that first seam, and now I stop long before I get to the opposite last stitch right there. And when I show to you now, you see I'm about 1 centimeter away of being a right angle to my other stitch. And you can test this before you cut it open by folding your welt upwards, that the seam will not show out after we cut this in now, because that's exactly what we're doing right now. Here you see I got about 10-12 millimeters between my two seams, and that's about the width it should have. Now cut exactly in between those two seams, but stop about 1 centimeter before you get to your last stitches there, and clip in all the way exactly onto these first stitches that you have, so you create like a little triangle that you're cutting there. This is the usual way you do actually with all pockets, but here I explain to you again anyway. Sometimes you have to put underneath the welt and the lining from the pocket away, so you don't cut that through, because you only want to clip into the corners from the main material, from nothing else. Now turn it over. You can check again by folding your welt upwards, or take now right away your lining, push it over to the left side, pull it into the corners, and if you cut it really onto those last stitches, you will see that when you push everything inside, that the pocket actually lies there as if you're finished already with it. It's nice and flat and perfectly laying down. Now, first of all, that pocket seam that I have there, I want to stitch that down. You can just iron it if you wish, but I like to stitch that one down because it's not shown anyway, but therefore it's always held in position and everything's lying flat, which I want on that particular pocket. After checking that part over again, if I like it like that, I'm holding my welt flat down with one of my hands. Look on the left side. Now I pick up this seam from the welt, the seam welt, take my lining, put it in a right angle, don't pull it over sideways so nothing pulls in that area. Now hold all these edges together and stitch exactly through this seam that you have there from stitching the welt on, exactly in the same seam you're stitching through, and your pocket is held there already. Again, I'm putting everything nice and straight in position as I want it. I hold it flat and firm with my left hand, fold the material over so I can see my pocket, and I stitch the first side from the pocket up. So that's practically finished, besides that I have to clean it off with the overlock later. And then I do exactly the same on the other side. Still, I keep on holding my welt firmly down, as you could see. Now you can see I usually cut my pocket pieces quite a bit larger than the actual pocket is, because my overlock got quite a wide foot, and usually this stand over I just cut over with the overlock, but here I show you I leave approximately, even then when it's finished, 2 centimeters of lining on the material, and I only clean it off. So you can see we are almost finished with the pocket already, besides that my sides are still open. This bottom line on this nice brocade material I will not stitch over, I will only iron it, but we have to do these side pieces. They're still flopping around in the air. So a normal tailor, a good tailor, he would stitch this on with very, very fine little stitches, so you don't even see it. But there's also another way to do it with the machine. So what I do, I actually hold the welt really down firm, but the upper material I slightly pull to my left with my left hand, so I can see the seam that I have there from this welt. And then I stitch in the seam, or you could call it in the shadow of that seam, and then it looks like it's been done by hand. So I show you again on the other side, so you can maybe see it a little bit better, because unfortunately my hand is a little bit in the way, but I gotta hold this piece. Okay, here you see the seam, yeah, and that's how I'm pulling it outside to be able to stitch in that seam in the shadow. But first I gotta really put it down flat, really hold it on with my hand. And then, while holding it with some underneath fingers, I pull the upper material a little bit over. Now I see my seam, and I stitch exactly in the seam from top to bottom down. And when I let go, this part that I pulled to the left side will fall over again, and it's invisible that I've been doing some stitching there. Well, all I have to do now is go to my overlock and finish off the pockets on the edges. And here you can see the actual coat where I added this breast pocket into, and well, I think it turned out all right. And maybe you can do something similar and enjoy it just the same. With other words, I'm finished with my little tutorial here. I say thank you for watching and hope you give me some nice comments, and maybe you even like to describe my channel, and hopefully you'll be around again, because I will be. Okay, have a nice day. Have some good working going. I say goodbye for now. Tschüss.